Okay, so this topic is ratios of fractions, and this is from the packet, page 10, number 8, and I will also talk about number 9. Okay, look at this question. Mason used 1/6 of a gram of honey to make 1/12 of a pan of pudding. How many grams of honey are needed to make a full pan of pudding? Okay, so let's highlight the information. You definitely want to highlight this, 1/6 of a gram of honey to make 1/12 of a pan of pudding. And then the question is, how many grams of honey are needed to make one full pan of pudding? Okay, there are two ways to do this problem, so I'm going to talk about both ways. The first method is more like mental math. You're asking yourself, so the information you're given here, it says that's 1/12 of a pan of pudding. So how many 1/12 does it take to make one full pan? Okay, so you know that there are 12 1/12s in one whole. So there are, okay, so let me write down. Okay, so if it takes 1/6 of a gram of honey to make 1/12 of a pan, and there are 12 1/12s in one whole to find the answer, all you would need to do is just to do 1/6 times 12. And then that will find you the amount of honey you will need for one whole pan. Okay, so 1/6 times 12, you make it 12 over 1. You can cross cancel. So it takes 2 grams of honey. Okay, so that is the first method. And now let's talk about the second method that involves complex fraction. Okay, we go back to the question here. How many grams of honey are needed to make a full pan of pudding? Okay, so we set this complex fraction like this. So you need to use grams divided by pan. Okay, so grams here is grams of honey. Okay, so you use 1/6 over 1/12. And as we talked about complex fraction before, this is the same as 1/6 divided by 1/12. Okay, so we invert multiply. You keep the first fraction, 1/6 the same, and then change the division sign to multiplication. Change the second fraction to the reciprocal, so 12 over 1. Okay, so you cross cancel, and you have the same answer, which is 2 grams. Okay, so this is number 8. Okay, so this is number 9. Aiden walked 1/8 of a mile in 1/16 of an hour. Compute the unit rate as the complex fraction. Okay, so, well, I'm not going to talk about the mental math way, just like what I did earlier, but I want to focus on complex fraction this time, so I could focus on talking about the units and how we handle the units. Okay, even though the question didn't really say anything, but this problem is all about asking how many miles did Aiden walk in an hour. So how many miles per hour? When you look at this phrase, miles per hour, if you remember your unit rate from earlier, you notice that is actually mile. You can write it as miles over hours. Okay, so with that, it's very easy for you to set up this complex fraction. Okay, so when you look at the question, the number for miles is 1/8 of a mile, and then for time, for hours, is 1/16 of an hour. So when you set up the complex fraction, it is 1/8 over 1/16. And let's also put the units in. 1/8 is your mile, so I put mile here. And then 1/16 is hour. Okay, so the units are also part of this fraction, so I put it like this. Okay? And then the next step is you would usually just do 1/8 divided by 1/16 to figure out the miles per hour. But you also want to worry about the units, so you don't want to forget about them. Okay, so you can actually separate the units from the fraction, the number part, just like this. Okay, so this is 1/8 over 1/16 times mile over hour. So this is what I meant by separating the units from the number parts. Okay, so now let's simplify 1/8 over 1/16 into 1/8 divided by 1/16, and then I still keep the unit around, so times mile over hour. Okay, and then I just use invert multiplication to simplify this. So it turns into 1/8 times 16 over 1 times mile over hour. 1/8 times 16 over 1 will give you 2. So 2 times mile over hour. Okay, now at this point we seem to have some problem, because now how can I further simplify this? Okay, so just think about, you can change 2 into a fraction. So this becomes 2 over 1 times mile over hour. Okay, that means you can group them back together. This is 2 miles over 1 hour, and which is our unit rate already. Okay, so this is the answer. Therefore, Aiden walked 2 miles per hour. Okay, for this part, I mainly just wanted to show you how the units work in this problem. You can keep them around, or you can just do the math part here, do the number part, and then make sure when you write down your final answer, you don't forget that, oh, we are trying to find the miles per hour. So when you write down the final answer, you make sure you put the units down correctly. Okay, so that's that.